If you're leading a team and they've been together for a while and you're going through changes and evolutions in your products, in your programs, in your organization, this is definitely the time to talk about managing your team in a different way. It's about looking at what's happening in the world, what's happening within your organization, and what's happening to you, and being able to talk about that and move forward in a different way. This is the leadership we need now, a space where we talk about kind, caring, and courageous leadership. I'm Stacey Dye, and I've been a nonprofit director for over 20 years. And I would like it if you could subscribe, share, and talk about some of the challenges that we're experiencing as leaders today. Today, I want to talk about managing staff, and specifically about managing career professionals. And by that, I mean people that have the intention to stay long-term, that you don't have a lot of turnover in your organization or in this position or in your company. And even if you do, it's a sought after position. It's something people will work into or try to achieve. So they maybe go to school for that, they do training for that, they work up the ladder. But these are professionals that are planning on staying in the field. They plan on staying in that organization, that company for a while in their career. And so managing them it's like managing a group of high functioning, productive people, and managing that team is a challenge in itself because you have personalities, you have conflict, you have frustrations, you have challenges with moving up the ladder or not moving up the ladder, stagnant career moves, that type of stuff that still are a challenge even with like high functioning professionals. And so managing a group like that, it's really important to assess what is, right? So being honest about the impact that maybe certain behavior has on the team, maybe it's impacting how the work is getting done. Also assessing what skills people have and what they don't have, what can be learned and what is past the capacity of an employee, which is not a negative thing. We all have things that, we all exceed our own capacity at some point in time for certain things. And so looking at what your team needs, what they want, and how they function, and managing that is a whole thing in itself. And so as you start to look at this process and look at managing teams better, because that's why you're watching these videos, is, we've all kind of hit these moments where you start to second guess your strategy, you start to lose confidence in your abilities, you start to question what you're doing or how you're doing it. And those moments are really difficult to get through, because what happens is sometimes those are when you lose your best leaders, is when they're in their moments and they can't get past them. And so when you're sitting there as a manager and you're thinking, is this something I really want to work through and try to resolve? Or is this something where I need to find something else that's better suited to where I want to be in my life? And we lose a lot of really good leaders to other positions, to other jobs, to other careers, because we don't really talk about the difficulties in managing highly professional people, capable people. This isn't, necessarily that people aren't able to do their jobs. It's that maybe it's a challenge with getting along with others. Maybe it's a challenge with a certain adjustment or change that's come since they started. And if we're not honest about those things, and if we don't have a way to document what's happening, what needs to happen, and how to move forward, then we're going to constantly be in this turmoil with our teams. And our teams are going to feel frustrated. You're going to lose really good, strong employees because it makes everything feel like it's been poisoned. And so stepping back and assessing what is, in terms of even your own capacity, not just your team's capacity, but your capacity. Is it time to bring in a consultant? Is it time that you need to hire somebody else who can balance out some of the problems that you're having? Is it that you need to have an intervention? Is it that you need to sit down and have a conflict conversation? All of those things could be true. It could also be true that maybe someone shouldn't stay. And maybe it's that this person is not a right fit and it's causing all sorts of problems in your team. If you are honest and can sit down and write out some of those things before you start to strategize, before you start to problem solve, you will feel like you have a better grip on what the problem really is. If you sit down and say, is this really my problem? Is this really what's happening? Because in this moment, in this time, everything feels overwhelming to everyone. There hasn't been one person I've talked to at all that's been like, this is great. I'm loving this timeline. It's amazing. They're like, I have no idea what to do. I have no idea what's next. I have no idea what's going to happen. And when you feel like that as a human being, no matter where you show up, whether that's your family, whether that's your friends, whether that's your work, whether that's your community service, you are going to bring that with you. And so separating what's emotion and what's happening in the now and understanding that is really important when you're setting aside and writing down what challenges you're facing, because that should be listed as a challenge. That if you work for an organization that receives grant funding and the grant funding is in question and the issue that you address and the focus of your funding is being cut or is becoming part of a news cycle, that's concerning. That does bring anxiety and stress and fear to your workday. And everyone's asking the same questions. Am I going to be okay? Is this going to be okay? And if we don't really sit down and answer that A, you may not know, B, we have to be nimble and be open to change and be open to whatever opportunities and challenges come our way, then you're already doing a disservice to your staff, no matter how long they've been there, no matter what work you're doing. But the second piece of that is then saying, okay, here's where we are. This team is struggling to communicate. We're struggling to get past conflicts. We're struggling to get along and work well together, where it's really starting to affect the work. These are times where, again, you may have to problem solve a little later, but you still need to write down what's happening. Use a journal sheet. Use this worksheet where you can sit down, ask yourself these questions. Maybe if you have in some of these conversations with staff, if you want to ask them some of these questions that are in this worksheet too, then it could give you a better idea of what's happening. As you're looking at this, then you start to problem solve, whether that's you by yourself, whether that's with a coach, whether that's with a board member or a peer or a co-owner or something, to sit down and brainstorm out ideas of how to strategize to fix these problems. Because I think the biggest challenge when I look at some of the things that when people talk to me about the problems they're experiencing is that again, leadership is lonely. So who do you trust? What information comes in? How do you share? How do you talk about things that are complicated? But it's also this really hard place we're in because there is no certainty. Not that there's ever been complete certainty, but the uncertainty now focuses on so much fear that if we can fix or adjust or be nimble or resilient through these times, we can get through it. And we can get through it, hopefully, if nothing else, surviving, but maybe even thriving. But we have to be able to have hard conversations. We have to look at ourselves, see where we're missing the mark, but then also where the team is missing the mark. Having hard conversations, having conflict conversations, bringing in people as we need them, putting together a plan, whether that's you as a manager or as a leader, sitting down and developing some ideas and kind of working through that with your team. Or if that is bringing somebody else in to help you with that. It's so important right now to be honest about where you are, to be clear, and to be transparent. And that type of leadership is not really anything we're taught. It's kind of the opposite. Now, with this caveat, everything has to be a safe space, right? So you can't share, you can't be authentic, you can't be transparent, you can't do all those things if it's not a trusting environment. So you need to create a trusting environment, even if that's just someone to talk to or something that can help you. And that's where I think the biggest, most difficult piece is that you want to create a safe environment. You want to create a healthy environment in your team. And managing people that have been doing this for a long time, it really is an assessment of where you are in this moment. Because when you hired them, it might have been 5 or 10 years ago. When you hired them, things were different. When, a year ago, things were different. 6 months ago, things were different. And so reassessing where it is now, you could have the best idea, the best program, the best company, the best employee, and the circumstances just become different. I mean, I always say the Titanic was the best ship. It was the biggest, the best ship ever built until it sunk. I mean, we don't want to be the Titanics of organizations or businesses, that we were so fixated on the fact that what we built was a certain way and that we can't evaluate where we are now in this moment. And so as you're on this journey, just know this is an evolution. This is a cycle. This is a river that flows. Nothing is linear. And so as you're doing this journey, this leadership journey, just know that doing your best and showing up for people and being a caring, humble servant leader, no matter what work you're doing, is really important. And being honest isn't being mean. Being transparent isn't being cruel. It's about identifying the problems and then working to make it better for everyone and make this project move faster, make people that we're serving or customers that we're helping better off because of what we've done. And that means that sometimes we have to take a hard look in the mirror and we have to look at what's really happening. So I appreciate all of you watching. Please subscribe, follow, like our pages and our social media, and best of luck to you, and know that this is a journey. This is not just a finish line. Thank you.